Whoop, that was a mountain biker. And this is heavily used by mountain bikers as well. Excuse me, more mountain bikers. Good morning, everybody. We are back at the little Scraggy trailhead this morning, heading southbound to Rolling Creek. We are doing Colorado Trail, segment 3 today. Our mileage should be about 12.5 miles. I've seen it in a couple different either apps or the old data book, 12.2 to 12.5 miles, about 1,976 feet of elevation gain. The weather should be beautiful this morning, high of 67 degrees, but as always, 50% chance of thunderstorms afternoon today. So we are going to try to hike again pretty quickly to try to get back to the Rolling Creek trailhead before about 2 p.m. There should be plenty of water sources along the way, so I've just got my 3-liter water bladder topped off and we are going to get hiking. So we're about a mile in, and so far this trail has been really easy, I'll say relatively flat. And the entire segment, the elevation profile is pretty much rolling hills. You start at about 7,800 feet. You'll drop down in about 9 miles to 7,400, and there's a little bit of a climb back up, not exceeding about 8,300 feet. So definitely a lower elevation hike, lots of rolling hills. We're making some good timing, which is great because we want to try to beat out that potential afternoon thunderstorm. Yeah, it's been pretty beautiful. You're in tree coverage almost the entire time too, so this would be a good one to segment hike even in the summer because you've got lots of tree coverage and then water sources. The water sources in the summer will probably dry up, but there's several ones that are quite reliable along the way. You'll also pass a lot of boulder outcroppings, and I don't know, it's generally a really good start to the segment and lots of good camping spots. So if you're coming over from segment 2 after refilling your water, this would be a good place to stop away from the trailhead and camp for the night. So about 1.2 miles in, you should get a little view of Little Scraggy Peak off to your left. Way off in the distance, you can see that snow-capped peak. That should be Mount Evans. It's at about 14,200 feet, and then kind of behind these trees over here is Mount Evans, and that's right about 14,000 feet, right about 14,000 feet. So those are 2 14ers that you can see from this trail. Hey, Remy. Remy, look at me. Hey, Remy. Was that fun? Was that fun? You like climbing boulders? You like climbing boulders? So if you do that overlook, which is I think about 1.2 miles in, make sure you remember to go back onto the trail. Otherwise you'll find yourself suddenly on a little bit of a cliff with some trees surrounding you, but no big deal, no big deal. What do you guys think? That country lettuce? Okay, so just about 2 miles in to the trek, you'll come to a junction, and one of the directions, if you go off to the right, is Shingle Mill Trail, heavily used by mountain bikers, and then the other is the Colorado Trail. So just continue on veering towards your left when you get to that intersection. So about 2.3 miles in, a much better view of look how little that peak is, Little Scraggy Peak. And then we've got Green Mountain, kind of this flattish mountain over here. So, I'm gonna talk about our water plan for a second here. So a lot of this trail, there's 2 reliable water sources throughout the year, even though it looks like by August last year, they were pretty dried up, but one's at Tramway Creek, which is about 5.3 miles in, and then Buffalo Creek, which is 8 miles into this route. There's a lot of seasonal water as well, so if you're hiking early in the season, probably before the end of June, those water sources should be pretty reliable. Right now, everything has been flowing, not overflowing like segment 1 with Bear Creek, but enough so even if you had a water bottle filter, you're able to easily scoop it up and not have to, you know, filter through any silt or anything like that. So definitely a good time of the year to get through this section of the trail because everything still seems to be flowing, which is great if you have a dog. But our water plan was to stop and fill up at Tramway Creek because Remy and I go through about a liter of water an hour. So probably give us just about a liter left once we got there, and then top off once we got to Buffalo Creek because we'll have about 4.5 miles left. So I usually like to keep about a liter in reserve for where I want to fill up with water, just in case it's seasonal or it's dried up by that time. I at least have a liter of water left. So at about 3.3 miles in, if you're going southbound on segment 3, you'll hit Little Scraggy Trailhead. And this is heavily used by mountain bikers as well, but it does make a full loop. I believe it's at the Kelsey campground where you can start. So if you're looking to do part of the Colorado Trail, looking to hike a short loop, I want to say it's about 8 or 9 mile loop. I'll double check that and put it on the screen. This would be a really good one as far as being able to get back to your car. And if you just want to hike a little bit and camp, there's lots of good camping spots along the way as well. So, looks like the Forest Service has been out here doing a bunch of work, cleaning up some of these trees. I actually think it looks like a little gnome village. And I've got little gnomes about to jump out at me.
Every gnome to the gates.
I don't know, it's kind of creepy. So we are stopped for our snack break about 4.3 miles in. I definitely think around 4 miles is always where my tummy starts grumbling, so it's kind of a good waypoint for me. And on Remy's menu, he's just got I think it's a yogurt-filled little bone. And then I am gonna do another packaroon, mint chocolate from Heather's Choice. And then I've got some omega-3 nut mix, just Walmart brand one, just because I know it's usually keto friendly when it's omega-3 because it's got a lot of the nuts with the good fats in them. And then I also snuck in some coffee infused chocolate covered almonds. So Joe Chocolate Company now makes these coffee infused chocolate covered almonds and cashews, and the cashew one's a chai, and they're so good. So definitely go ahead and pick yourself some up of those. They're the ones who also make the coffee infused chocolate bark that I love. So we're just gonna stop quickly, maybe 15 minutes, snack it up here. My feet and legs, everything's feeling good. I've done this trail so far without any trekking poles, but I know we're gonna start to get into more of the elevation losses and gains this back half of the trail, so I'll probably take them out for the rest of the trail. I also forgot to mention I'm doing my cold brew coffee again in the Cedar Summit. It's the X Mug Seal and Go. And what's really nice is I actually can stick my little coffee packet in the lid, and it worked really well being not so messy with after I'm done. Since there's usually some coffee grounds and liquid in the bottom, I can just seal this up and then clean it out later if I'm near a water source, or I'll be safe right now when I get home. But definitely, I think a good idea, and then able to put it in here, seal it up, and shake it to get it fully incorporated. So, tip of the day, this does work, and I think I'm gonna do it on the rest of my trips. So we are having the dirty chai latte, or just dirty chai cold brew from Kusa Coffee. I think they're out of Boulder too. Make sure it's airtight. And shake it up. It is good. Recommend. Somewhere down here, I'm missing a tiny black O-ring for my water bladder hose quick connection. It still works, but I'm trying to find it. Probably impossible. So note to self, bring extra in your gear kit, gear repair kit, extra O-rings for water bladder quick connect hoses. It still works, it's just you don't get a tight seal and airflow. And then usually when I give Remy out of my water bladder, I lean forward to help pressurize it, and so it flows out of the hose a lot better for him. And since it's not a tight fit, it ended up going all over my shoulder, and that's how I realized something was wrong. So we went back to the creek to try to look for it, but it's a small black hose, or a small black ring, so probably pretty impossible. But luckily, I always carry a regular Catadine Be Free 1 liter with me, so we fill that up so we have quick access to water, and then we'll figure out what we do for the rest of the trip. And I just discovered when I roll this up, I don't know if you can see it, I've got a little black elastic hair binder that I use to help keep the filter rolled up, and I might try that as an O-ring and see if it works. So this is the little elastic in place of an O-ring, so we'll see if that fits. Could be a genius idea. It's working. Learned something new today. That little they're little rubber hair binders, which I usually have some in my pack or wrapped around things, work as O-rings. So fun little new hack, I think. Doesn't replace getting an actual O-ring and putting it in my gear repair kit or my gear accessory kit, but I thought it was pretty cool when I was trying to remind myself to go do the list too. Don't you just want to be like Alexa in the woods just to see if Amazon is listening everywhere? Makes you wonder how this gets out here in the woods. The woodpeckers have been here. So we just crossed Green Mountain Creek. It's definitely flowing very nicely and definitely crossable. Not like segment 1, so no wet feet this time. But we are about, excuse me, more mountain bikers.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you. We're about 8.1 miles in, and I think Buffalo Creek, we were gonna stop to cap off our water. Take another little break, is about 8.4, so not much more to go in that aspect. I guess we can keep hiking. And just check the elevation profile as well, and it looks like that Buffalo Creek is our low point, so our climb, if you're doing this, definitely starts once you pass Buffalo Creek. Otherwise, been pretty doable. Rolling, very much rolling, and very much way to pick up some good mileage, at least in the first 3/4 of this hike. So we just crossed over Buffalo Creek and I topped off our water. Now we're in the home stretch, about 4 miles to go. And this definitely begins our climb. There are actually pretty good campsites around here, and it wasn't marked in Guthook, so I've added that. But if you guys are doing this and wanting to camp and have close access to water, this is a really good spot to be able to do it. So, a couple of sprinkles, but not enough for me to put my raincoat on or anything yet. Looks like most of the dark clouds are to the north of us, so hopefully we can avoid any major downpour. But we are at about, I think we just hit 10 miles. And we just hit 10 miles and we're passing by the rifle range that's just off the trail here, and it's run by, there, that's probably better. Don't look like such a dork. There we go. It's run by the Buffalo Creek Gun Club, and it's called Camp Fickes. And it was named after a lieutenant who, with 2 other soldiers, was in the mess hall back in World War II. And apparently there was some freak accident with lightning, and all 3 of them were killed. And it also was a freak accident with making a 6-hole latrine a 7th-hole latrine too. So, kind of an interesting story, but still active, still competitive. You can shoot up to 600 yards at this range. And yeah, I mean, it started, World War I, was idle until World War II, and then again idle until about 1961 when a couple of guys had the first meeting minutes and founded the Buffalo Creek Gun Club. And a couple more sprinkles, so we're turning this camera off.
We shine like stars. We shine like stars. We shine like stars.
Okay, segment 3 is done, and that's 12.5 miles off of our 500 miles of fun in 2021. But first, it's the Colorado Trail Disco Dance Party. And now, we dance. Someone's